Hey everybody, welcome back to On Stage, Off Stage. I'm your host, George Sapio, and this is episode number 164, April of 2023. Our guest this month is Claude Jackson, an attorney from Arizona whose play Cashed Out won the Von Marie Atchley Excellence in Playwriting Award for Native Voices at the Autry Museum of the American West. It was then picked up as a developmental commission and had a world premiere at the San Francisco Playhouse. The play deals with Rocky, a mother and an accountant who has a gambling addiction. Where did the play come from? As I'm led to understand, it came from a shorter play?
Yes, back in 2019, the Native Voices at the Autry, they're an equity group that Native American actors and playwrights and directors, and so they have an annual short play festival, and of course they'll have a theme.
Right.
And that particular year, the theme was gaming, native gaming, gambling. It was a wide array. They just throw out the theme, and then you could work with it any way you want. And that's where I came up with the idea of Cashed Out, and I chose to, in my way, discuss it as a drama tragedy, and also about addiction, gambling addiction, which I don't really have much. I don't have much background in gambling addiction as opposed to just regular addiction, and but did my research and I had 10 pages, so I just explored it sparsely anyway. I wanted to deal with the human emotion of it all, and from there it. One of the reps from San Francisco Playhouse saw that I won, loved the play, and then pandemic hit, COVID hit,
Sure,
and
yeah.
San Francisco Playhouse was one of the many playhouses, companies that were doing Zoom 10-minute plays and just really trying to get out there. And they did have a weekly Zoom reading of a play. I mean, I've heard some of yours, and or some of them are here on this own podcast. So it was wonderful. They put it on. The same actress that was in my play and at the Autry was in this one, so that was really comforting, and it was well received in San Francisco. Mm-hmm. And this is the funny part is so after it was done, everyone loved it. Everyone was gushing. Didn't know many of these people were on the Zoom, kind of like we're doing now, and some people are saying, "Hey, this would be a great, like, a long play. I'd like to see it." And I I literally sent an email to everyone that was on this this page here, and I just said, "Hey, thanks a lot. This was a wonderful experience, and I will keep you in mind if if and when I turn this into a long play." And I said that. George, I said it exactly like, "Oh, see you later. I'll be seeing you soon, or we'll keep in touch." I kind of said it like that, in the email. But then immediately after I sent that email, Bill English, the managing director of San Francisco, immediately, just kind of threw it out like, "We could commission you for this." And so that's how that's how it came to be. And I'm sure the contract terms were similar to everyone else's, where they gave me kind of like 3 bites at the apple, 3 drafts. Mm-hmm. But they did find that I actually worked pretty fast. I think I had 3 months for the first draft. I wrote that in probably a month, maybe a little bit over that.
Okay, let's get into this, because play development is one of my favorite topics. Yep. Were you familiar with this process before you walked into it, or was this a new experience?
It was a new experience, although in working with Native Voices, because we would submit these 10-minute plays.
Right.
We would they would allow for a play for a table read, a read through, and then they actually did give us dramaturgs to work with. So I did know that I had opportunities to develop it, to check on some basics, like, is it too much exposition? Is it even the format of it all? So I kind of knew that. But here's the funny thing is that I had when I first was doing these is I thought like, hey, I know I just submitted this play. Is it okay? I kind of tweaked it a little. Is it okay if I submit? They're like, yes, send it to me. Send it to me, silly. And again, it called for 3 drafts, but it was significantly more. I worked with them, and even little notes that they had.
Right.
I kind of dived into them and oh, okay, and then I would send them off. So I actually lost track of how many drafts I did.
Mm-hmm, sure.
And but yeah, so I had an idea to answer your question is, I had an idea that how that I can do this.
Okay, and you felt good about the whole process. You felt the play growing organically?
Yes, definitely. I know that like the first draft was written. It was so like an epic, and it was so. I had some screenplay experience, so I wrote it kind of like that, and it was told linear, and obviously that's something you just couldn't put the way I presented it. That's something you really couldn't put on stage,
right?
And so in working with San Francisco Playhouse, I didn't have a dramaturg, but I worked with them. I kind of started getting the idea of it. And matter of fact, I think I had too many characters. And again, it wasn't in my mindset because I didn't know this, but then I realized, oh, okay, then let's shrink it down. Let's get to the story that I really want to tell. And then I knew I was able to play around with flashbacks with, and then, I had an idea about transitions, but someone just told me, let it go on the transitions. Let the director deal with that. And so that freed me up a little. And so I was able to play around with it, experiment with a little. Again, that was part of the development of it all.
Cool. That's, I've always found development to be a journey which contains at least 2 or 3 surprises where I have to sit there and go, oh my gosh, did I do that? Or I had no idea I was going to end up here. Were there moments in this process for you where you sat there and thought, how did I get here? And what am I going to do with this?
Seemed like all the time.
Okay.
I trusted in my, I guess, own abilities as a storyteller, where even where I was at some point where like, I like someone would make a suggestion or point out something, and I go, I don't know how to get from this point to the point to the next point. But I kind of just sat on it, and it eventually came to me, or as you know, just write anything down, and then we could pick apart from there, because the rewriting is always the fun part anyway.
Yeah.
And so, and yes, I look back on some scenes or some situations that I put my characters in, that I put myself in, and I would say, wow, how did I get here? And then I would go back and say, okay, how did I get here?
Yeah,
I better answer that question and make sure that there's some continuity to it all. Again, another fun part of the process.
I love the process, and
yes.
One of the things you touched on briefly was not having the answer to solve a particular problem right away, but sitting on it, and eventually it comes to you, which is a very tricky thing for a lot of writers, because somehow we come to the point where, oh, you're a writer, you're supposed to be able to just fix this thing right away and just move on. Otherwise, you're not a writer in quotes. And personally, I abandoned that nonsense a long time ago and realized that the more I sit on something, that's part of the writing process.
Exactly.
Did that worry you? Did that bother you at all, or?
No. I'm very new to this whole process itself, except that in terms of playwriting, less than 10 years, about 9 years, and most of them have been short plays. But I feel like I've been writing since I was a teenager, and I wrote my first screenplay, which was garbage, but I wrote it when I was like in my early 20s, and so I had some writing experience, and But what I did know is that one thing about it is I've never been on a deadline,
Mm-hmm.
and even this commission, like I said, I had 3 months to do this, and I did it a lot faster, and I just feel I have that in me.
Yeah.
Uh, but it is something where throughout the writing process, any kind of story I've written or I've come up with. I mean, it could come to me anywhere. It doesn't usually come by when I'm sitting at the keyboard. It's usually I'm in the shower, I'm
Yep.
having a cup of coffee, I'm
The
talking with
frozen food
friends.
aisle. Yes.
Exactly. You never know when
Yeah.
it's gonna. And I trust it enough that it is going to come. That I just I'll work it in my head like
Mm-hmm.
this situation or this, and then my mind really starts to work and it kind of starts mining old maybe stories that I've seen before, I've read before, I've seen performed,
Yep.
any real life situations. Oh, okay, then it starts to narrow, and uh it just happens that kind of naturally on it.
Mm-hmm. Good. Yeah. It's a wonderful journey. After I saw the original article on AZ Central about you, um, and read about the play's journey and about the play itself, I went to your NPX and downloaded the play, and I've actually read it twice. And I love the play. It's
Well,
powerful.
thank you.
It's heartbreaking, and I was dearly hoping for, I guess, maybe a different kind of ending, but I was perfectly satisfied with the ending that you did craft because I felt it was organic, logical, and contained a lot of verisimilitude. Um, and that for me is one of the points on whether or not a play succeeds. And you hit the bullseye with this one, I believe.
Thank you.
I want to talk about reception because this started off as a short play for the Autry
Hmm.
and went to a much longer play in San Francisco. Can you talk about the difference in? Let's talk about the reception you got in San Francisco. What are the audience when you? I'm assuming you spoke to a lot of people about this, or they wanted to speak to you because everybody wants to meet the playwright. Yay! Um, what kind of remarks were you getting about this? Questions?
I so a lot of there are various some people came to me in tears in their eyes. It said it hit it really spoke to them in a way, and I really wasn't sure if it was I knew it was addiction they were talking about,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't know if it was gambling addiction or other forms of addiction. But I mean, we had one. She didn't come up to me, but we had one person that brought her 8-month chip from gambling,
Yeah.
and she gave it to the director, and then we've actually incorporated it into the play. So we got a lot of that. Obviously, that's the beauty of theater, when it hits you on a personal level like that as an audience member. So we had a lot of that. I did have a lot of questions about how maybe my choice of writing it from a woman's perspective, and how me being a man,
Mm-hmm.
how did that come about? And so I've answered some questions regarding that, but I also had some positive feedback regarding the the fact that this family, 3 generations, they how they dealt with it, and that it was how they dealt with addiction in general, and some family members, well, at the first didn't understand it. They understood addiction, like I've been saying, but they didn't
Yeah.
understand what gambling, how you could be uh, you could have that weakness for gambling, but so it really was something that captured a lot of people in terms of what they felt with in terms of their own lives. Uh, and getting back to that question about me writing these characters for women, I've answered it different ways, but there was a few that stood out, and how I thought about it is one was working with the Autry. Native Voices of the Autry, I was just very impressed with the actors, the women, and I wanted to give them good parts. And another thing too is when you do these playwriting contests, I'm not like this anymore, but back then I really wanted to win it, and so I did.
That doesn't change. I'll tell you that right now.
And I did know that that when you present these plays, you really do have to stand out. I thought I had written some really good plays in the past, but when they were all presented, it was like 6, 7, 8 of these plays put on, you're like, oh, wait a minute, mine has a similarity to this one, to that one, and the ones that win, I mean, the ones that won clearly won. They were great plays, but I also knew one of their the factors in it is that they did stand out, and so I just wanted to make sure my play stood out.
Yeah.
And again, and just growing up, I had a strong mother influence, I had a strong grandmother influence, and so I just thought it was natural to come up with these characters. And you know, I also know that throughout history, in storytelling, you just can't have the woman cannot be the background character. They're
They've been that for so many centuries.
Exactly. And so, and even in some, you know, I've been a co-writer with my brother on a movie that we made, a little independent one here. And I remember when we were writing that, you know, originally my brother wrote it out, and it was the character was like, she was a female character. She was just there, just a woman that was there. And I go, no, we need to add something more to her. There needs to be some more nuance to it. She has to be as independent as the quote unquote main character. And so, you know, that was just a background that that's just my thinking, and that's how I applied it. And I made sure I was respectful to, you know, not only to all the characters that I create that I came up with.
Yeah. Well, your character of Nan is a rock for the ages. She's indomitable.
Thank you.
Oh, no. I would love to see whichever actor had her role do this one on stage, because every time she was there, she had my attention. And it's the way you drew her with such compassion and, I was going to say street smarts, but there's no real street there. But I mean, organic strength is about the best way I can put it. Common sense. She's brilliant. I love this woman. I just want to have, you know, weekend dinners with her and just, you know, hug her or something like that. Yeah. So well done with her.
Thank you.
Yeah. I also thought that and I'm just going to say this as an aside, the AZ Central Picture Review, since given the theme of this play, which is kind of against, you know, gambling addiction, you're standing on the stage at a casino. Were you thinking there's a little bit of irony involved in this, or?
There is a lot of irony to it, but it came down to the photographer wanted to get a picture of me, and they go, "You can do it in your office," but I mean, I'm a public servant. I didn't want to have it in my my own office, and my wife was like, "We're not having it at our house. It's not, you know, let's clean it." And so, my brother works on my reservation as well, Gila River, and he's the public relation, essentially the public relations director out here. And so we were kicking around some ideas of where to have it and some kind of stages, what stage to have. We don't have many out here. I mean, there's a big school stage. We have a middle school that has a great stage, and but we knew the casino had this wonderful stage there. And he just made a phone call, and you know, it was just Arizona Republic. I don't believe we gave him the full detail.
Yeah.
But I haven't heard any pushback from it, and you know, it's funny. It's very ironic. I think it was in the article itself, is that the casino itself has paid for my education, has put me in a position where I not only I'm doing well professionally as an attorney, but you know, it's freed me up to pursue this, because I am doing well. I'm provided for my family, and then I could do I could do playwriting, and I do know that I'm not really banking on making tens of millions of dollars as a
No,
playwright.
no. Seriously. Poets make more than playwrights, okay?
Yeah.
It's so nice to have a day job. You said you were relatively new to this, in 9, 10 years. Normally, when somebody says they're new to this, I usually hear 2 to 3 years. But how did you what brought you into the craft of putting words into people's mouths that get up on stage and shout them back to audiences 10 feet away?
Well, so I've said this before, is I've secretly wanted to be in high school the theater nerd, theater geek.
Yeah.
I just loved performance, and I just loved people getting on stage and doing whatever, music, comedy. I think Richard Pryor and George Carlin are my heroes from when I was even when I was a kid.
Absolutely, sure.
And so I just love the storytelling. I just love that part of it all, and acting, of course. And so, but it never happened for me as in high school. None of that. Not theater. I went to a Catholic high school that didn't have a theater program.
Mm-hmm.
And then at when I went to Arizona State for undergrad back in the early 90s, the only thing I did see, I knew that I didn't even think that to just walk into a theater program or anything like that. The only thing I saw was they had a weekly improv group that performed at the student union. Sure. It was called the Memorial Union, and I would watch that like all the time. I was just love that. And I like the next year I was like, I'm going to go out for this. I'm going to, because I think I have ideas. I think I'm a funny guy. And I went up there and they gave me a form and I looked at it and it was like a full on like audition. Like you had to do it. I don't know anything about that. So I put it up and threw it away and never. And so, but I did discover film writing, and I discovered the format to that. And again, this is the early 90s, so I wrote a few movie scripts. I was proud of them. But I also knew that to get a film script like sold or anything is what you had to do. You had to go to LA, you had to get an agent, you had to do all of this. Mm-hmm. And I just was not going to do that. And I wasn't really in the right state of mind. I was in my early 20s. I was still kind of a party animal. And so I kind of just did what I did. I still like to write. And I said, hey, I'm writing this from, I like to write it and I like to tell these stories. So I'm going to keep writing. But I never picked up on theater. I did love Shakespeare. I was an English lit major. Right. So I did know about the theater. I did attend some shows, and but again, no formal education, and I just fell into it because the native voices at the Autry had these playwriting contests, and 10 minutes. I thought I could do 10 minutes, and the first theme was sports, and I like sports, and so I wrote a little funny play about that. They got chosen, and that's what started it. But nice. I would like to say that I was thinking about this before is. Like I said, I picked up screenwriting pretty fast because movies are all around us all the time. Oh, and I wondered, and I wondered why, because I said I like plays. I wondered why I, didn't pick that up. Now, it could have been some dumb luck where somebody says, hey, you should go to this play or whatever. The thing about it is, this is what I think that a person that is not a layperson that does not know theater or anything like that. What do they know? They know Shakespeare, and that's all they know. That's all. And then they know that, hey, it's probably like $30 a ticket to go see a play, and you have to go at a specific time. Yep. What I did know, and a lot of people don't know, is that there are a lot of plays and there's a lot of playhouses, black boxes, and this is a term that I just learned. That that's why I'm saying I'm new to it. I just learned that with
one of my favorite terms in all of theater is black box.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so that was the thing, is that people don't realize that there is not only something affordable but something independent that is out there, that these plays are getting produced. Yeah. And they don't know that. All they know is that when's Hamlet, is Romeo and Juliet gonna be playing? It's the Phantom of the Opera going to be playing at the big play, and that's all they know. They do not know that community that is out there, because it's like saying, hey, on music, all you really need to know is Bob Dylan, and that's it. Bob Dylan's the greatest. That's all we're going to present to you at all times is Bob Dylan. And then you don't realize, there's a culture of punk music or hip hop music that came from the underground that pays deference to Bob Dylan, but it's their own music, and it's something that you, like someone my age, discovered an artist when I was 15, 16, early 20s, and still love them today. And we just didn't have that. And movies, we do have that. Like we see movies all the time, and our directors and our stars become our people. And
it just our influences.
Exactly. And so what I was getting at is that for whatever reason, it didn't come out that way, where it's presented to anyone. People don't realize anyone could go to a play and enjoy it. And to me, it's not that difficult to take in a play or to understand what is happening. It's storytelling.
Theater can be very prohibitive because, like you say, people have the idea that, I've got to get dressed and I've got to be there at 7:30 and I'm going to watch Shakespeare, which I'm not going to understand any of, but and here I'm making air quotes. This is culture, and it's a little off-putting, but discovering community theater, discovering theater that is not Shakespeare, that is not O'Neill, that is not the stuff that was jammed down your throat in high school as, Broadway. That's another thing. People say, you're looking to get to Broadway. And I'm like, no. I'll take off Broadway at the best. But it's theater. Yeah, you got to look out for the reachable theater, for the common theater, for the modern stuff, the stories that you're telling.
Exactly.
The stories that I'm trying to tell, the stories that I'm trying to focus on here with this podcast about what's real, what's current, and not something that happened, in the 12th century. And I'm not dissing Shakespeare by any means.
No. Okay. No, neither am I. I love Shakespeare. So
but you're not the only playwright in the family. Is that your brother is also a playwright?
Yes, right? He's more into the film writing, and so me and him, we co-wrote, co-produced, co-directed a movie called In Circles. It was a Native American film back in 2015. It did do the rounds. We did get selected, and especially the Native American, the big Native American film festivals, and in some local film festivals here. And so we're real proud of that. It did show our community. It was filmed on the reservation, and it was all a community member, Native American actors, and these are our friends, and it was a wonderful experience. But there was a thing about it. And I love films, but it took we didn't have any money. It probably cost about $2,000 to make it, but it took about 2 years to do it because we're doing it on the weekends. We have jobs, and we do, then we wouldn't do it for a few weeks or a month, and then we have to come back. So it was just a long process. And then it was a long editing process that my brother took over on the editing. We had original music because he is a musician. And so his band, we put music in there. So it was a great experience. I'll never take that away. I mean, I'm glad we did it, and we want to make more movies, but that's why maybe to get back to your question a few minutes ago is how did I come to playwriting or drama and theater? This is one of them. I discovered this community that, hey, right now, all I got to do is write a play. And at the very least, this community is going to read it.
Sure.
And if they like it, I might find someone that's going to be able to produce it, as opposed to, hey, Claude, you wrote this great movie script, but we're talking millions. All I want you to do is read it.
There are 10,000 artists for every opportunity, and collaboration can be tricky at the best of times, but it's nice to know that you and your brother Roberto have found a way to make it work.
Yes. His one thing about him is that he's more visual because he's got a degree in photography, and a master's in photography actually, and I liked writing, and so I think when we were even co-directing, he was worried about setting up the shot, the lighting, the sound, and I'm over there working with the actors, messing around with the script at the last minute. But he hated the fact that I would walk up to him and go, "Hey, Rob, you know what? I think maybe we could shoot it this way." Like I'm thinking he could just pick up the camera. Yeah, all right, Claude, let's. He was like,
"Thanks for the tip."
So we did work well with it because we had different strengths coming at that, and that's the beauty of the collaboration. I mean, finding out in theater is that there's the technical staff, especially on the play at San Francisco, they were fantastic. They had a great set design. We had some really good reviews on the lighting and the sound. Which again I didn't know about it. Here's a funny story: is they would have the production meetings, the nightly ones, and I remember the director turned to me and goes, "Claude, you do not have to be here at this production meeting." And I go, "That's fine, but I'd like to be here." And everyone's looking around like, "Oh my God, is a playwright gonna start?" And all I was doing, honestly, was just sitting there and taking it all in and listening and trying to figure out what the process is, what they're doing. I'm not making any opinion of it because I know what the director is supposed to be doing. So that's all I did. And they actually were okay. He is actually just sitting there. And I even had a Bill, the managing director, goes, "Man, I usually kick out the script."
A lot of people do. I've walked into rehearsal rooms for my own play, and the director turns around and goes, "What is the playwright doing here?" And I love to let the director and the actors have fun with the words and play, because that's where the creativity comes from. And I love to see them take whatever I've put down on paper and make something of their own out of it. Yes. But I also like to sit in the back every once in a while just to see what the process is like.
Exactly.
Okay. And a lot of tech people, a lot of actors, and a lot of directors feel nervous with Daddy in the back of the room because
I know
we're putting different clothes on his kid. We're making, we're doing things that he, oh my goodness. Yeah. And so what I turned around to the director, I says, "I'm sitting in the back and I'm shutting up." Okay. And at the end of the night, we'll have a talk, but you know what? Do your job.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to be in the room. That's all. I know what I've done. I know what my role is. It's been laid out, where it's like, "Hey, can we change this word or whatever?" And I'm there. Yes, that's fine. Otherwise, I just want a guy that wants to see what's happening. That's all. I like to pop my head in and I just love the process because you see them at the rehearsal stage, and then when you see the finished product, you're like, wow. And I just marvel at the actors. I marvel at the directors when they make the choices that they do. And it's good, and it's just something that, in a few years, maybe I want to direct or something, or have an idea. And if that happens, then great. At least I have some background on it. Right now, I have none. Yeah. So
I heartily encourage it. It will make you a better playwright.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I get that.
No, seriously, learn everything you can about it. Do the lights, do the sound, design the sound. That's fun. Find out every single aspect about it, because if you're just a playwright, you've got a limited view. The more you discover about how the theater actually works, the better your work will be. I guarantee it.
It does. It informs me, like when I sit down and write, it informs me about how this is going to be. Yes, people have said, just write it down and let someone else worry about it. But I go, okay, but yes, if I know what the parameters are, then I could fit the story to meet that. Yeah. If a story I'm working on, a play I'm working on, and it demands for 13, 14 speaking parts, then that's what I'm going to write. But also, if there's a story that I'm like, okay, I know what the parameters are. I don't know, but it's not like I'm working with the Playhouse, but it's like, okay, if I know that 5 or 6 is doable. And then here's another thing about it is, say I do write a play that is strictly just Native American, Native American actors, that it calls for that. Well, a lot of playhouses, a lot of regional theaters are going to be like, I don't know if we have 5 or 6 Native American actors here.
Yeah.
in the region. I'm going where that affects the budget, whatever. So I'm getting an idea of all of this, and I can work within the rules. And it's much like, I don't know what was that, the old school iambic pentameter or something
Right.
like that.
Sure.
The poets wrote in a certain way, and when someone sees that, says, "Well, that was very limited for them." I go, "Well, kind of, but those are the rules of the game.
Mm-hmm.
They worked within the rules, and they excelled at it." And that's how I look at it. I'm okay
Right.
with if someone says, "Well, we got to put these parameters up, work within that." I'm fine with that. I really am.
Yeah, I like those challenges myself. It
Yes.
makes me think in a different way about something. How can I fit this entire story into this little box, or whatever
Exactly.
size box is? I want to change tactics here, or change
Sure.
subjects here for a little bit, and talk about Claude in the real world. And by real world, I mean the Gila River Indian Community Defense Services Office. You've mentioned a couple of times that you're an attorney.
Mm.
And part of me wants to know what your job is about, what you do, and how what you do with your clients and the courts and your community, how that manages to inform what you put down on paper. How much of that creeps into what comes out of your creative conscience?
Oh, yes. So I'm the director of our public defender's office. I've been doing this for about I think this is going to be my 8th year. Yes, this is my 8th year, and I've been an attorney since about 2006, almost exclusively with my tribe. I worked as a prosecutor for a number of years, and I worked in our civil office. This here, as a public defender, 8 years is probably the longest job I've ever had, longest position I've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that says a lot about how much I love doing this. And so it's criminal defense, and it's dependency cases. So that's the CPS cases and then we defend the parents on this. I love it, and it's essentially it's for the tribe. I work exclusively in this tribal jurisdiction.
Yeah.
And so I know who my clients are. I'm a community member myself, and and I work with a group. My attorneys are a group that will do just about anything for their clients. That they really want the best for them, and they will defend them, and not only defend them, but help to see if we can get them back on the right path.
Yeah.
And so that's my job. I'm actually preparing this weekend I have a trial set, jury trial set in a few days. So I'm doing that as well. And so, yeah, like I said, I do love this job. And one of the things about it is how is that translated into what I do as a storyteller? I haven't written anything like 12 Angry Men or anything, so I stay away from the. I'm not going to do I'm not going to do any kind of like legal play, something that has to do with trial or anything like that, or that kind of experience, because I'm too close to it. Right. And I got to have the respect for my clients. However, what it has helped me with is the human interaction with my clients, with prosecutors, with judges. It's that I can talk with people every day, and it's not always about, hey, what happened on this night or anything. It's more like I got to get to know people. Especially if I'm going to defend them. So it helps me stay inquisitive, and it helps me to observe, and I try to, and I read a lot of police reports. I listen to a lot of dialogue, body cams, all this, and but it keeps me observant, and I was a bag boy at a supermarket back when I was like 19, 18, not 1918, but when I'm 18 or 19.
Gotcha.
And
how old are you? Wow.
I know. And the thing is I would be talking to people, and and I take that in, and I think that's one of the, a strength of a good storyteller, a good writer, is that they are observant at all times. Your mind is always at work. You never really take a day off from that. You can sit in an empty room and still try to observe everything around you.
Yeah.
And
I like
yeah,
to sit in full rooms, which is why I generally try to write
yeah,
in the middle of, a coffee shop or something where people are having
yes,
conversations. Because even though I don't listen to the
yes,
words, I hear the emotion, I hear the tempo, I hear the cadence. And on
yes,
more than one occasion, I have put a character's voice into somebody two tables over who's complaining about her husband. Okay. And, it's you pay attention and you absorb because there's so much
yes.
out there that, is new to your perspective.
You're right, and I could sit in a coffee. That same thing. I can write at home, but I love just going to the coffee shop. And
Yeah.
I mean, there are times I'm there and I look, and then I just start texting my wife. Hey, I think there's this couple. It sounds like, it looks like they're on their first date. I don't know. I'm not hearing, but I'm seeing their body language. I go, it looks like a first date kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I look around. I go, that person is hard at work. And then sometimes I look around. Is that a fellow writer? Like, are they doing the same thing?
He's watching me and I'm watching
I
him.
know, like we're observing each other. But yeah, it's in writing, I try to find time. It's a full-time job what I do, but I weekends, a couple hours at night,
Mhm.
whatever. Sometimes I've just taken a long lunch, and I'll take the annual leave, and because if I'm feeling it, like I have to write this
Yeah.
down.
I mean, because your job is
Most.
demanding, it's not like something you leave.
Mhm.
It's public defense and the law and being an attorney it's like being a teacher. It's not a 9 to 5 thing. You
No,
do this 24/7. So
yeah,
carving out time to scribble little tales of human interaction, and again, I'm making air quotes here. Uh, it's an investment and it's a costly investment.
yes.
Yeah.
It, but the thing about it though is I've you, as a fellow writer, this, the joy we get from being able to sit down and, I mean, writing one great line, one great
Yes.
dialogue, just like you found that sweet spot in terms of
Yes.
a dialogue, the two characters you created. And I mean, I get so much joy out of that.
Yeah.
And so I'm always going to do this. I am just always going to be sitting down and telling the story. And I still make sure I have time for my family, and make sure I
Yeah.
have an 8-year-old daughter that doesn't care if I'm a writer, an attorney, or anything. She just wants to make sure I'm around, and I make
Yeah.
sure that I am. And so I make that time because it does fulfill me.
Mm-hmm.
And if I ever do, someone ever says, "Hey, Claude, if someone says, Claude, you're going to be a writer, we're going to pay you this amount, but you have to, you just got to be your deadline. You have to do this 8 hours a day or whatever." Okay, if I can do that. That obviously is a dream of mine, but I'm not sitting there saying I'm waiting for that break. I'm just doing what I'm doing,
Yeah.
and I'll let everything fall into place naturally.
Yeah. I noted something that you said earlier, and you said it off the cuff without even thinking about it. And it's one of the things I appreciate when I run across a fellow scribbler of other human situations. And I called you a playwright, and you came back with, without even thinking about it, I'm a storyteller.
Mhm.
And the fact that you said I am a storyteller is something that goes back hundreds of generations. Humanity has learned or tried to learn or kept alive images of itself, a reflective, ongoing identity through storytelling. Doesn't matter what you do. Some people say I'm a screenwriter, I'm a poet, I'm a playwright. No, I'm a storyteller.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is really all you need to say, because that's part of you. You do it. Yes, you're an attorney. Yes, you're a father. Yes, but you're a storyteller also. And I think that's part of what is at our collective core as creative artists.
Yes.
This is what we do.
Yes, I agree. Like saying I'm a storyteller is, again, I do want to capture everything about what I've done. Even in my as an attorney, I'm at a jury trial and I have to do a closing argument.
Yeah.
So I have to tell this story about this evidence, facts that have been presented to this jury, and I have to put it in such a way that is for the benefit of my client, for the benefit of my defense. And so I do it that way. Or I'm sitting there with my daughter and she asks me a question and I turn into this person where I'm just telling her some fantastic story and I've got her enthralled. And I know sometimes I have to pull back because I think my 8-year-old thinks, boy, is he really doing it? Like, is this true stuff? I know this is made up, but it's just in our nature. We like to tell stories.
Yeah.
I love the title of being a playwright. I just love that it's something that I could put on my resume, that I could talk to individuals like yourself. That I'm enjoying everything about it. There's I have at Arizona State. There's a next month the playwright Madeline Sayat. She's a professor there, and she's asked me to speak for her class, and I think that's a great
Wonderful.
honor.
That's
a great honor,
sure.
And so I'm enjoying it. I'm loving every minute of it, but I also do know that I'm telling a story almost every day of my life, whether it's through my voice or on paper.
That's how we communicate. That's how we stay alive with each other. Claude Jackson, this has been so much fun, so illuminative, so wonderful. An absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for being here. And good luck with all the plays that have to still come out of your soul and out of the paper, and for the rest of the world to enjoy and to learn from.
George, thank you very much. If I could close with this, is when you reached out to me about a month or so ago, it was a great honor. And then I did my research, started listening to the podcast because I didn't know about this podcast. And it was wonderful listening to all those discussions. I probably went through about 10 of them.
Wow.
And I went way back. And then I know that like Laura Shamus, who's a Native American playwright that you had sat with a few years ago. It was a wonderful experience. It opened my eyes to, like, as I stated before, that there's a community out there that not only is it hasn't been illuminated to me, but also now I know is opening to me. That if I have questions, I am sending them out to everyone, and people have been very open, very helpful, and I know that I'm going to pay that forward. If anyone ever asks me anything, I'm going to do all I can to help a playwright, a theater person, a theater young person, because that is the community we have to build. So
theater is collaborative, and we depend upon each other.
Exactly.
Yeah,
thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Claude.
Thank you.
Hey kids, thanks for listening to On Stage, Off Stage. On Stage, Off Stage is produced monthly, and all of our shows can be found at onstageoffstage.org and also on iTunes and Spotify. If you enjoy what we do, please recommend us to your friends. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at OnOffStage. And if you are a theater artist with an upcoming project of interest or know of someone in the theater who'd make some seriously good chat, by all means, send us a note at info@onstageoffstage.org. I'm George Sapio. Thank you once again for listening. And please, stay safe, be careful, not only for yourself, but for those with whom we all share this rock. And as always, happy theatering to all of you.